I've challenged myself to watch all of the X-Men movies. Yes, all of them. Bad ones, the good ones, and the S-tier ones. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you my thoughts on all the X-Men movies. Starting in chronological order, so we're going from X-Men First Class, then we're going to head all the way to, I believe, Deadpool and Wolverine. But yeah, anyways, let's jump into this, shall we? So, X-Men First Class is a actually pretty solid start to this, whole timeline. I mean, it is the origin of a lot of these characters that we really do love and respect. Of course, the standouts in this film are frickin' Magneto and Professor X. They just play their roles relatively amazingly, and I honestly really do like their character. There isn't really much casting that I would change in this movie. I think all the casting is, kind of perfect. And to be honest with you, I really dig this movie. I think it is a really good film. I think I enjoy most of what this film tries to do. I think there isn't really much that I dislike about this film. It's really enjoyable. I have a ton of fun with this film, and I honestly really like it. The action scenes are probably the single standout part about this film and whatever. I think the action scenes are really solid. Even though this film does lack action all the time, I feel like there's not really many fight scenes in this film. I feel like for the action scenes that are relevant, I think they are really solid. The villain in this movie is cool. I think his plot to start World War III was really cool, honestly. I think that's really interesting. I'm not like the biggest fan of this and whatever. I think the villain was just a little bit boring. Like, he has aura. All in all, I think the villain is actually pretty solid. Are the other villains that good though? I mean, Emma Frost is like okay, like it's interesting. Azazel, I think, is his name. I mean, he's pretty much just the inferior Nightcrawler, so yeah. With that being said, there's another really bad thing about this film. The amount of sexualization in this film is genuinely just almost unwatchable. Oh my god, I get that we are in the 1960s and things were different back then, but holy crap, there is a ton of boobs and butts in this movie. I get that X-Men is trying to be the mature version of Marvel movies, but still, that doesn't really excuse the fact that there's a ton of freaking boobs in this movie. Emma Frost's main thing is that she tries to seduce people. Like, it's weird. There's just a ton of stuff in this movie. Wolverine drops an F-bomb in this movie, which is, you know what, that's honestly not even the worst part about this movie. Speaking of Wolverine, he's literally there for like 2 seconds and then dips, which honestly, that's fine because that makes sense because it's Wolverine. But even still, you wanted to see more. The film is really good, and aside from some pretty lame villains, Wolverine barely being in this movie, and the fact that there's a ton of boobs and butts, I really do like this film. Oh god. Oh god. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Let me tell you, this is a movie. And by a movie, I mean it takes an absolute crap on the entire legacy of motherfricking Wolverine. There is one character that I could confidently say is my favorite character in the X-Men universe. It's Logan. Logan/Wolverine is just such a great character. He's compelling, he has an awesome ability. He is not really bound by PG-13 laws because he can get into rated R territory a lot, and he's all in all a great written character. The horrors of this movie are insane. I know everyone and their mother knows just how bad this movie truly is, and it's horrible. Like, it's oh my god. The story is downright terrible. I barely understood what the story truly was. Main villain of this movie, he sucks. Like, I don't care for him. And speaking of main villain of this movie, oh my god, bro. These main villains, because there's way more than one villain in this movie. There's Sabretooth, who is like a villain, but also not. Colonel Sanders or something. I don't remember his name. I forgot it. Like, I literally watched this movie 5 minutes ago. It's still on my TV above where I'm recording right now. I don't remember this dude's name. And then there's motherfreaking Deadpool, bro. I can't do this. Deadpool is... I've never seen a Deadpool movie. I'm going to watch it literally like in a couple days from now. Like, the first Deadpool, I'm gonna be watching in a couple of days because I have to. I even understand This is just character assassination at this point. Deadpool is supposed to be the dude who talks a lot and is funny. They take away his voice in this movie. They take away his whole mouth and make him overpowered for some reason. The whole thing about Deadpool is that he's like Logan in a sense where he's the rated R hero. He's the dude who freaking cuts people open, makes the most inappropriate jokes imaginable, and is funny. Deadpool in X-Men Origins is nothing like that. The most Deadpool we get of him is in like the first 30 minutes of the movie. They took away all of Ryan Reynolds' charm in this movie. And I'm pissed off that they did that. This movie is so gosh dang bad. It is horrible. It takes an absolute dookie on everything that Wolverine built up towards in the first 3 movies, in everything. This is insane. The only thing I will say that's good about this movie is that Hugh Jackman is just so good at playing Wolverine to the point where he makes Wolverine enjoyable. I'm gonna move on. I want to watch X-Men now. Boys, we're finally back to peak shit. I think that the original X-Men movie is top tier. I said it, come at me! The original X-Men is really freaking good. After the abomination of watching X-Men Origins Wolverine, this was a really big breath of fresh air. This first movie is just really good in my opinion. This movie is just amazing in a lot of the things that it tries to do. This movie has top tier casting. Hugh Jackman is a fantastic Wolverine, and I don't know the rest of the names, but I do know that they do a phenomenal job regardless of whoever the frick they are. I think the only thing that really I didn't like about the cast was the fact that Rogue had a really southern accent. Personally, I just really freaking like this movie. I think the story, it's not the craziest. It's not like top tier, but I think it's definitely really good. I think that the main conflict in this movie is really interesting, and you know, it's kind of just been built towards that mutants are not really welcomed in this society. They're not really the most liked, and I just kind of dig that. I really dig what they were trying to do. It's the first movie that came out in 2000, so yeah, I wasn't even a thought back then. I really liked this movie. It's a movie that I think is probably one of the most rewatchable X-Men movies, at least in my opinion. I think the CGI, a lot of people say it doesn't hold up that well. Me personally, I kind of like the CGI in this movie. It was way better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. But yeah, I really do dig this movie. Aside from the fact that the story's a little simple, this movie is awesome. It has great action, a great cast, a really interesting main conflict, and all in all, I really like this movie. I think this movie is one of the most entertaining, it's probably my favorite movie that I've seen so far, in all honesty. I like this more than X-Men First Class. But yeah, this movie is great, so yeah, now it's time to go watch X2. It's officially day 2 of doing this video, and just finished X2. X2 has by far been the best X-Men film that I've watched so far. X2 is just a instant upgrade to X-Men in almost every way. The action scenes in X2 are way better than the action scenes in X-Men, and that is coming from someone who really liked the action scenes in the original X-Men. The story and plot of the X2 are just far better than the original X-Men, in my opinion. And then you have the casting, because not only do we have the original casting that we just got from the first X-Men, but we have a lot more newer characters, or characters that were in the original film but didn't get that much time to shine, that are all they're all really lovable. Like, you have Bobby, or Iceman, or whatever. He's so cool. Then you have Pyro, who has the fire powers, and he's dope as heck, too. You know, Rogue gets more time to shine as someone who, you know, she learns to be more competent in herself in this movie, and I really like that. And we can't talk about new characters in X2 without talking about the single greatest character, in X-Men, aside from Magneto and Wolverine, And that crown falls to none other than mother fricking Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is my GOAT. He has a really cool power. He has a really cool character design, especially in X-Men Apocalypse, but I will get to that later. He has a really cool voice. He has a really cool actors. He's just all in all fantastic. That freaking White House raid at the beginning of the film is just so dope, bro. The villain of this movie is the same villain from X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I know I clown on him, but they just significantly upgrade him. This dude is just so awesome and pathetic in this movie. He is pure evil in what he's doing. This is by far the best X-Men film that I've watched in this rewatch. And it's just so good. Like, it is a very good film. Definitely gotta be in the Hall of Fame for some comic book stuff. Because for the time of this movie, like, the fact that this movie came out in, like, what? I think this movie came out in 2002. It manages to do so much and have really high quality fight scenes and everything. Yeah, this instant upgrade in my opinion. X-Men Last Stand is probably the weirdest X-Men movie. Okay, that's definitely not true. The X-Men Last Stand is like, it's really weird because it's good. It's a good movie, but it's also not a good movie. There are some severe flaws with this movie. The main thing being Jean. Jean's whole thing is that she's supposed to be this like really like big threat that they're supposed to deal with, but she's not really that relevant. She's relevant, but like in the final battle she doesn't do anything. Like, Jean is supposed to be the big threat of this movie, but she barely interacts with the characters, doesn't really get that much screen time, and her death, although is sad, it's a little bit anticlimactic. The death is awesome and all, but like the fact that she doesn't really fight is just sad. I think it's the writers. She's the strongest mutant. They literally make that abundantly clear. So they probably had a really hard time figuring out how they would be able to even beat her. Wolverine is definitely the second strongest mutant, I mean, we could see why he could beat her, but it's just like, it's not really likely, you know? Another thing I'll say about this movie is that pacing of this movie is not that bad. It actually has decent pacing, and this movie didn't take that long. There are some other really cool villains, like the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut's in this movie, and he has one of the funniest lines in all of cinema. Magneto is just as cold as he ever is. Even though I do have some issues with the final act, I think that the final battle is really freaking good. Like, the final battle is probably one of the most enjoyable final battles we've had in a while. Wolverine is as goated as he ever was. Storm is as goated as she ever was. And we got the freaking GOAT, Hank McCoy, aka Beast, to be in this movie. Beast is goated. We love Beast. I think the movie is relatively good. It definitely has flaws, though. It's definitely the worst of the original trilogy. It's a little lackluster. That's all I'll say. But I am really excited because now I get to watch The Wolverine, which I have a very interesting take. Good boys, I'm about to watch The Wolverine, as y'all can see here. And I have a very interesting take on this before I give you my honest thoughts about the movie. When I first watched all the X-Men movies, I remember vividly thinking The Wolverine was the best X-Men movie. That just may be a weird take, but I really liked The Wolverine. And I'm really excited to see if it's really as good as I originally thought it was. Time for the hottest take of the video, by far. And it's the fact that I consider The Wolverine, you know, the Wolverine side quest movie where he goes to Japan and fights a giant adamantium robot, is my favorite X-Men movie that I've covered so far. I know that's probably a really crazy thing to say, but hey, hear me out. First and foremost, the plot is very interesting. I think it's really cool that Wolverine is going to Japan because he saved this dude, and then this dude, you know, kind of wants his adamantium, which I think it's just really cool. The villains of this movie, they're cool. Like, I really dig the fact that the main villain of this movie all along was just the dude who Wolverine saved all those years ago. He kind of has a good reason for why he's doing this, I can't lie. Wolverine wielding a katana is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, that was sick as heck. One thing, if this movie gets anything right, like, this movie gets almost everything right, in my opinion, but the thing it gets the most right is mother-freaking fight scene. When I tell you the action in this movie is the best in the entire X-Men franchise, I freaking mean it. This movie has such good fight scenes, they're in such a good quality, and they're made in a way that's kind of a homage to like Japanese samurai and ninja movies. And I think that's so cool and so creative. The way it does it is just so cool, but yet putting Wolverine in it. And when like you add Wolverine to it, it just makes this amazingly fun adventure. And yes, this is a side quest. This movie is in between The Last Stand, which is a movie about a conflict, a literal war between mutants, and Days of Future Past, which is the most critically acclaimed X-Men movie of all time. And in my opinion, I really like The Wolverine, because The Wolverine does such a good job of almost everything that I can't help but have it at least in my top 3. Wolverine is a fantastic film in my opinion. And the tease to what is to come of this timeline is unreal, bro. So I have constantly been switching from favorite to favorite on this list. Like first, it was First Class. And then it went to X-Men. And then it went to X2. And then it went to Wolverine. Yeah, and the same is true for this one. It's freaking Days of Future Past, bro. X-Men Days of Future Past it's the best X-Men movie. I know it's a popular opinion. I get that it's a popular opinion. But it's so good, and it's perfect. The only thing that I will say is that Days of Future Past does lack like really epic fight scenes like the Wolverine has. That's the only thing the Wolverine has over this movie. I'm not even gonna lie. So okay, so first and foremost, plot, absolutely amazing. We have this, you know, the main timeline that we've been following so far. You know what? Screw that, because the timeline led to Mystique assassinating somebody, and then we got in a whole war where mutants are just enslaved, and it's like it's insane. And the last mutants remaining, one of them has the ability to send someone's consciousness back to the past. In order to send someone back to year 73, they have to get Wolverine to do it, and then it results in one of just the most cinematic movies I have ever seen. Oh my god, everything was here. The action, for what it was, there's not much action scenes in this movie. For what it was, fantastic. There was the Quicksilver scene, which was fantastic. You know, which Quicksilver is also one of my favorite characters in this entire series. I love him to death, and I will not hear anything about X-Men Apocalypse hate. Then we have freaking Magneto, aura farming like he always does, in both his old and his young form. Like, oh my god. Freaking Charles' character arc, Professor X's character arc, the stuff that he goes through in this movie is insane. And the way his character, you know, his character gets, you know, just wrapped in a nice bow, it's perfect. The ending of this movie is top tier. It's better than the Wolverine's ending. I'm not even joking. Narrative-wise, this is one of the best movies I have ever seen. I'm mad. I'm mad, bro. I'm mad, bro. Because I kid you not. I kid you guys not. I hated on this movie for the longest amount of time. I'm not joking. I actually hated on this movie. I thought it was overrated. I thought that First Class and Apocalypse were much better. I was really mad at the fact that people were talking about this movie like it's the god tier movie that it was, but here's the thing. I was saying all this as an 11-year-old. Dude, with the comprehension I have nowadays, dude, I make my 11-year-old self look like a fetus who's feeding off the mom's tube that goes in. I don't know much about biology. Pretty much, this movie is fantastic. This movie is like actually so good. I can't believe it, bro. The Wolverine and X2 are great films. They are fantastic films. But what the fudge was Fox smoking when they made this movie? Because this movie has the writing that is a little bit low, the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's there. The writing is phenomenal in this movie. The writing is so good in this movie. I don't even want to joke about it. Like, this movie is fantastic. Like, oh my god. Main villain is the dude who pretty much made this whole thing start. It's the reason why we went back in time to stop Mystique from assassinating him. Because when they assassinate him, the government sees mutants as a threat. But now that Mystique doesn't do that, now that Mystique just doesn't assassinate him at the end of the movie because, you know, Logan does it, or Logan ends up fixing the timeline. It results in him getting arrested and him not being able to make these giant mechs that can just kill mutants with a sneak. It's a phenomenal movie. It's really hard to explain because it's a movie that you need a lot of comprehension to actually get, because it's a time travel movie and it's just insane. Just all this being said, please go watch it, because there's so much to this movie. The characters are amazing. The plot is amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. All the action sequences were amazing. New characters, amazing. Everything, top tier. I wouldn't change this movie at all. It's like with the Dark Knight trilogy. I couldn't change it. We'll see if it gets topped in the future. Hopefully not. I know I may be saying like a grave sin or something at this point. I freaking love X-Men Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse is, in my personal opinion, one of the better X-Men movies. And I think it is way better than a lot of the movies that I've watched so far. Way better than Origins. Way better than X-Men Last Stand. Way better than the original X-Men movie. Way better than First Class. I stand by my takes. And if you hate me for it, leave a comment or something. So, first and foremost, best thing about this movie is characters. Because I think that because the new characters are great. The new Jean Grey is fantastic. The new Cyclops is fantastic. The new Nightcrawler is fantastic. New Angel is fantastic. Apocalypse is a fantastic villain. I really do like Magneto's character in this film. Like, Magneto is an amazing character in this film. Quicksilver is in this film, and he's awesome in this. Silver, we all know, is just handled so much better in this universe than in the Marvel Cinematic, in the MCU. We actually make Quicksilver as this charming character, and not as, you know, just some random dude. Like, Quicksilver is actually enjoyable in this movie. Quicksilver is way better in this movie than he is in Days of Future Past. Now, I love Days of Future Past. I already mentioned it's my new favorite X-Men movie. But I still think that Quicksilver is even better in Apocalypse than he is in Days of Future Past. I think he has way more characterization, he's way more fleshed out, and we get to just learn more about him, and I really like that about him. Story-wise, this is actually a pretty solid thing. I think it goes deep into lore about the X-Men universe, and I think Apocalypse handles that really well. Action in this movie, I think it's good. I mean, it could have been better, but at the same time, it could have been much worse. Wolverine makes a cameo in this movie, and he is way better than his cameo in First Class. I think him slaughtering out everybody is just, it's classic Wolverine. Also, the first X-Men movie, and I think the only X-Men movie that I saw in theaters, and it was back when I was 6, and to be honest, it's just a great movie all in all. I know A lot of people hate this movie. Some people think it's like mid at best. But for me personally, this movie is mid at worst and S tier at best. This movie is fire, in my personal opinion. I feel like nobody ever makes a valid criticism about this movie. They just say it's bad because either A, they heard that it's bad from others and they watched it themselves going in with a horrible mindset, or B, they just don't understand that this movie is supposed to be a really big, epic spectacle. Only real bad thing I have to say about this movie is I think that the final battle is a little bit anticlimactic, but I feel like that's been the case with several X-Men movies. Next up, it's time to watch Dark Phoenix. I've officially just watched the worst X-Men movie since Origins Wolverine, Dark Phoenix. I did not make any stutters here. Dark Phoenix is genuinely, it's just really bad. Several issues with this movie. There are several things that just don't make sense in this movie, and there's just a lot of things. So, first and foremost, the villains sucked. They're horrible. They were horrible villains, and what's worse is that they come from they're probably also some of Marvel's worst villains. Skrulls. They were supposed to be Skrulls, but since Captain Marvel got there first, they had to change it to these random ugly things. Also, just a little bit worse. They really don't have that much of a motive other than to destroy the world. They're horrible. They were horrible main villains. And I gotta talk about Jean, because the Dark Phoenix plotline for some reason can never be done good in movies. The second time they did it, and it was even worse. The Dark Phoenix in the first film was interesting because it kind of made sense. In this film, it's just like Jean absorbs a solar flare and now she just suddenly has this crazy powers. That's so stupid. I much preferred what they did in Last Stand. I don't say that often because Last Stand was not that good of a movie. Every character in this movie was just not likable. Every character, from what I remember, aside from a couple, were horrible characters. Professor X is the worst he's ever been. Cyclops is the worst he's ever been. Nightcrawler is the worst he's ever been. Quicksilver is the worst he's ever been. All of them were just horrible. The only ones I really cared for or thought were interesting was Raven, and she died. Beast, because he actually was smart in this movie, and Magneto because it's Magneto. This is also, I believe, the first X-Men movie that just plain and simple did not have Wolverine. Wolverine isn't even mentioned in this movie. He's just gone from the picture. I'm just not a big fan of whenever the X-Men movies don't have their most prominent character. And Dark Phoenix is easily something that tends to feel like Logan should be involved in, but he just isn't. And then, just to make things worse here, we have the ending of the movie. Ending of the movie just kind of screws up what Days of Future Past did, where it's like, oh yeah, everyone got this happy ending. Jean's here, Cyclops is here, Charles is back to running the school. Now, that's just apparently not true, because in Dark Phoenix, even though, it's about, 30 years before Days of Future Past's prologue happened, it's like we didn't get, it's like Charles is no longer running the school, Jean is supposed to be dead, even though she isn't, and, nothing really is satisfying. Days of Future Past is so good and has such a good ending, but what they ended it off in Dark Phoenix, which is 2 movies later, it just feels horrible. I hated this movie, I didn't hate this movie, but I thought it was kind of stupid when I first watched it when I was 7 or 8? Wait, no, 9? But now, I hate this film even more because it genuinely just screws up one of the best comic book movies of all time. It screws that up. It screws up Days of future past ending, and I hate that. But from this point, the movies I'm going to be talking about, I have not seen, and Deadpool was so freaking good and was such a breath of fresh air. Because this movie is rated R, they're actually able to do a lot of the stuff that they couldn't do in other X-Men movies, even though they have dropped F-bombs a lot throughout the series. Like, X-Men is definitely supposed to be the more mature version of Marvel. Their content feels as though it has been limited or restricted because of this whole thing where, you know, it's PG-13. With Deadpool, not only are they able to break the bounds of movies or they're able to break the bounds of X-Men or superhero movies because they're able to take full advantage of their R rating, but there's also the thing where they can just try a bunch of new stuff, and it results in a movie that I consider to be legendary to the superhero status, as it does stuff that we really didn't know movies could do. Breaks the fourth wall a ton in this movie, has a ton of crazy jokes and stuff that I cannot say on YouTube. And all in all, it's just crazy. Like, this is a really crazy movie, all in all. I love it. I think it was great. The jokes are hilarious. There's a lot of scenes here that you should just not watch with your parents. Like, I was very scared because I watched this movie on my TV, and this movie is, it has a lot of explicit stuff that a lot of people would probably look at and think, this is a superhero movie? Is not really the best movie for your first superhero movie. The stuff that makes jokes at other superhero movies, makes jokes at just plain and simple friggin' X-Men movies. It references Ryan Reynolds, even though he plays Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. The action in this movie is great because they have an R rating. They're able to take full advantage of the action scenes, and they look great because of it. Thought that R-rated movies always just take so much of an advantage of the R rating, you know, to show all the, you know, blood and stuff, because I saw it in, like, Zack Snyder's Justice League and Sinners are probably two of the biggest examples, because Deadpool is no exception to that. They take so much of an advantage of it, and it's just great. Really did enjoy Deadpool, and it's great because Dark Phoenix was freaking horrible. I think Deadpool is definitely been one of my favorites that I've watched so far. We still have this is unfortunately that we're coming to a close in this watch, because this is, you know, very close to the end of it. We only have about 3 more movies. I'm very excited to watch Deadpool 2 and Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm very excited to watch all those. I might be like the first one to say this, but Deadpool 2 is better than Deadpool 1. I know. Slander me, do whatever the frick you want, but I still stand by my opinion, and I believe Deadpool 2 is better than Deadpool. Why do I believe this? Well, first and foremost, the comedy and action are literally just as good as the first one. A little bit, maybe the action is like a little bit worse, but, you know, it's alright. But the comedy in this movie, they dialed down on sex jokes, which I just really, I'm happy, because, you know, the sex jokes in Deadpool 1 was just kind of crazy. I think plot-wise, this movie has just as good of a plot. I think whenever X-Men, you know, fondles with time travel, I think it honestly tends to go relatively well. Like, I don't think it is as cool as, you know, how they did it in the original, or in the first time they did it with time travel, but I think they do a solid job with time travel. Again, Deadpool 2 is R-rated, so they managed to take everything, they managed to just do everything that they need to do. They are able to, you know, just go full in on swearing, go full in on, you know, jokes, go full in on action, and I think, honestly, it's great. I really like the new characters in this movie, the cast in this movie. It just is an upgraded version of the first one. The X-Force was really fun. We, of course, have, you know, returning appearances of Colossus and whatever the frick that girl's name. New characters like Russell and Luck Girl, I forgot her name. And of course, time traveling dude. Why did I forget his name? The new casting was just really fun, and the fact that the main villain for a lot of the movie is literally just literally Thanos' actor. That's funny. Juggernaut in this movie too, which was sick. What happens in this movie is just plain and simple. I really dig what this movie did, and I think it's all in all really fun and really enjoyable. With that being said, I personally think this movie is just better than the first Deadpool movie. I personally think this movie was really fun. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is probably one of the most perfect casting choices ever, and yeah, I really like Deadpool too. So, all in all, it's a really good film, and now I'm about to watch Logan. Our second to last film that I'm going to be discussing in this video is none other than Logan. After watching Logan, I can confidently say that this is a very satisfying movie. Is it my favorite? No. Is it in my top 3? Maybe. Is it very good? Absolutely. This movie is like almost perfect. Like, I didn't have much flaws with this movie, or I don't really have many gripes with this movie. I think that this movie is really freaking good. Seeing how Wolverine and Charles are living in the future, it's depressing. The movie is depressing all in all. It's like not really a hopeful film, which is, just kind of sad. And the way the characters die, I mean, it breaks your heart to see these characters that you love dearly just die in this film. If you don't count Deadpool films, this is technically the last in the timeline. And it really is a satisfying conclusion to the main story of X-Men, where you see Wolverine kind of redeem himself for a lot of the stuff that he's pulled throughout the film. The final act is truly spectacular. Like, I have no issues with the final act. This movie is it takes such an advantage of R rating, and it's not like with Deadpool where they tell jokes all the time. With this film, it's just like, this is serious. Action scenes fantastic, story fantastic. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which is the longest movie, I believe, since X-Men Apocalypse. So, yeah, it's just been a really fun, it was just such a great movie that I will be rewatching in the future. And I really can say that out of a lot of the movies, this is definitely up there. This definitely has one of the best endings of any X-Men movie ever. This film just excelled at a lot of things. It isn't bad in pretty much any regard. This film is definitely one of the closest films to a 10 out of 10 that I've seen. And with that, we are down to the final movie I had to watch. And it is none other than Deadpool and Wolverine. As the final film in the Fox X-Men universe, I can confidently say this is a great ending. Is it as good of an ending as Days of Future Past would have been? No. But it is definitely the best ending they could have done. The third best, probably. So yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine was a fantastic film through and through. I think I've just gotten to the point where I liked every Deadpool movie, and Deadpool movies progressively got better. Like, I like Deadpool 2 more than Deadpool 1, and I like Deadpool and Wolverine more than Deadpool 2. Which is kind of crazy, but at the same time, can you really blame me? It just kind of felt like Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of just like, the love letter Deadpool deserved for Marvel. It's like, it's not the most Deadpool-y movie, but it is honestly a movie that feels like a Deadpool movie, but it's able to have so much emotion and charm and action in it. I thought this movie was absolute cinema. The movie was really funny, but it also had great moments. The character arcs in this movie for Wolverine and Deadpool were both fantastic and well written. I think that the action in this movie, every action scene felt like a whole movie in and of itself. The fact that this is technically the only one that was actually bought, this was the only one that was owned by Disney, and yet it was actually good. Like, you know how the meme is like whenever Disney buys something, it gets worse? Well, for this one, it's actually the opposite. Disney bought this and actually made it better. Even though, to be honest with you, there has not really been a bad movie. I haven't watched a single bad X-Men movie since Dark Phoenix. To be honest with you, it was just great. The movie is all in all a great watch. And the comedy in it was fantastic. Everything from, like, all the set pieces are so cool. Like, every single, like, scene just was so fun to watch. Wasn't any part of the movie I think was relatively bad. I think that in general, Deadpool has outdone himself with these movies. And this movie is definitely one of the best. And in my opinion, is the best Deadpool movie, and this was one of the best X-Men movies. I think all in all, I had a ton of fun doing this. I think that all in all, this film was very fun, and it is our final one on this list. And with that, we are finally finished with watching all the Fox X-Men movies. And I would say this is probably one of the best superhero franchises of all time. Even though this isn't related to the MCU, it's still, well, at least until, Deadpool, it still managed to be really good. I would argue they have made movies that are better than some of Marvel's best movies, like the MCU movies. The Future Past, The Wolverine, Logan, all the Deadpools, X-Men Apocalypse, X2, all of those were fantastic watches. And even though there are some relatively bad ones, like, Dark Phoenix and X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I guess you could count The Last Stand, but I would consider The Last Stand to be, like, alright. All in all, I really liked doing this video, and I think this video was so much fun to make. It was so great to rewatch such a great series, and all in all, this is probably one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. So, top 5. My number 1 favorite is by far Days of Future Past. The movie is just excellently crafted and everything. My second favorite will probably go to, let's say as of right now, my second favorite movie in this timeline is probably Logan. Then third, I'll go with The Wolverine. Fourth, I'd have to say Deadpool and Wolverine. And then fifth, a tie between Apocalypse and X2. I'd say X2 is a bit better. All in all, I love this movie franchise dearly. And these movies, those top 5 are some of the best movies I've ever seen. All in all, I love this movie franchise so much. I had so much fun watching it. And, so yeah, best movie, Days of Future Past. Worst movie, Origins Wolverine. By far. And Dark Phoenix is, like, not much better than Origins Wolverine, I'm not gonna lie. But, yeah, shout out to all of them. They all have their goods and bads about the movie. Except for, like, two. But, it's fine. Yeah. And best movie trilogy out of these is definitely going to the Deadpool trilogy. But yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping and let y'all guys go. So thank you so much for watching this video, and if you want to see more movie related content, let me know. Bye.